Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, February 12th, 2026. 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. What do we have today? Closer look. We're going to take another look at the fallout from yesterday. Let's take a look at a newly resurfaced Pam Bondi campaign video where she's promising, she campaigned on everything that she's covering up right now. Take another look at that. The Dow's below 50,000. So now apparently the Bondi and the Justice Department can prosecute the child molesters. No, probably not. We'll take a look at that. Trump praised the cover up, and so we'll cover that. Trump's going to lose the midterm elections here now. He can't read the room. Whoever his advisors are, they're disconnected. They're now disconnected. Apparently, he's hanging out too much on Truth Social and pumping all this Q bullshit and in an echo chamber of his own bullshit because definitely not reading the room. We'll cover that. What do we got here? Big news. One thing the Trump administration is doing, I do agree with them about, is rolling back all these EPA regulations. They'll probably swing the pendulum so far the other way. We're, drinking lead. But for now, they have killed this. They've killed the ruling that CO₂ and these other greenhouse gas emissions were an imminent threat to public health. And so that's a big freaking deal, actually. It's pretty boring regulation stuff, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So all the bad news, this is one bright spot, even though I'm sure it'll be abused and used against us. But rolling back these climate change regulations is a big deal for sure. Okay, what else do we got today? Obviously, more Epstein news. I know, I'm sick of it too. We got to cover it. It's a bigger scandal. It's the biggest scandal in the history of this country, honestly. We got to keep covering this stuff. I'm tired of reading it, honestly. It's just disgusting, beyond disgusting, but we're going to keep covering it here. A lot of Epstein coverage. We've got, what else do we got? Well, a little bit of ICE coverage. What's going on with ICE? The deportations. We're not getting mass deportations. So take a look at that. Looks like we're pulling back. The feds are pulling back out of Minnesota. It looks like that's what old Tom Homan is saying today. We'll go over that. A little bit of public health news. Bobby Kennedy Jr. says I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. I guess if you put it in that perspective, you wouldn't be afraid of germs either. So we'll cover that. Of course, all this Epstein news, geopolitical news. Aardvark land has been named to Trump's Board of Peace, and perhaps the irony of the century. I don't know. It's pretty damn ironic that the guys carrying out genocide have joined the Board of Peace, and the genocide in Gaza continues. Oh yeah, and Zio is the new N-word. I've been trying to tell her, but I guess you can't even say that now anymore, as they're rolling out mass censorship. of any criticism of genocide. Let's take a look at this day in history. Where we at here? Let's take a look on the, we got a few people chiming in there. Let's take a look at the channels. Who do we got? We got Mac, Ruckus, we got Best Selling, and Carrie and Fat Bob. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully the crowd grows here as we go on with the broadcast. On this day of February 12th in 1793, first U.S. fugitive slave law passes requiring the return of escaped slaves. 1793 on this day. In 1851 on this day, Edward Hargraves and 3 other men discover gold in Opfer, North South Wales, beginning Australia's first gold rush. Was that 2 years after they discovered it here in California? There in 1851 on this day. In 1873, on this day, U.S. Congress passes the Coinage Act of 1873, abolishing bimetallism and placing the country on the gold standard. Kind of a big deal to have sound money. Yeah, what the hell? You know what I mean? We'll just have, we'll just buy our own debt with cryptocurrency. I think all that's going to come back and bite us, but we'll see how it all plays out here. In 1912 on this day, China adopts the Gregorian calendar. In the whole world on this unified system, screwing up our schedules, getting everybody on Pope Gregory the VIII calendar here now. In 1914, on this day, the Squaw Man, the first feature-length film shot in Hollywood, was directed by Cecil B. DeMille on this date in 1914. 1915, on this day, Adolf Hitler receives the relatively common Iron Cross second class for bravery in World War I. In 1962, on this day, we saw the bus boycott start in Macon, Georgia. The blacks there fighting for their civil rights. In 1973, on this day, we saw the first U.S. prisoners of war in North Vietnam released. 116 of the 456 were flown to the Philippines. And in 1999, on this day, scientists warn about the harmful impacts of health of genetically modified food. Now we just run around and drink glyphosate and scream science at everybody, right? No, I don't know. They've been warning about it for a long time. We've been warning about it a long time. Seems this one is flowing way under the radar of MAHA and Clean Food, Real Food program there. They do not mention genetically modified food that I've seen come out of the MAHA Reform Public Health in America. They're still neglecting to mention genetically modified foods, as scientists were warning about in 1999 having harmful impacts on health. And with that, let's see. With that, we'll segue to the news here. Here is Pam Bondi's campaign ad when she was campaigning to be Attorney General in Florida. So when was it? This is like over 10 years ago. Let's take a look.
Florida ranks third nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I knew we needed all hands on deck. Businesses and hospitals to spot it, our great law enforcement to stop it, and tougher penalties to punish it. We're taking on Medicaid fraud, pill mills, gangs, and more, and I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
Pam Bondi, our Attorney General.
Florida.
She's actively covering up Epstein perpetrators. So we've come a long way there, Pam Bondi. Side note, Pam Bondi has ties to Scientology, another one of these weird cults, right? All tying together with the fear-based, trauma-based mind control methods they use. All the same type of cult activities going on there. She has ties to Scientology, having support from them as far back as her Florida Attorney General days there. And then, of course, yesterday, this is it's an all-time classic. I guess we can get the bad guys because the Dow went below 50,000 today.
And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan. Committee will be.
By the way, that was about the Epstein files, not about the economy. So, yeah. Disconnected from reality. Trump posted this today in regards to yesterday's debacle. And by the way, it's an embarrassment. I watched almost the whole thing yesterday, that whole hearing. They're all joking and laughing, saying, yeah, it's all just theater. That's our Congress supposed to be the lawmakers enforcing the law. And they're just literally throwing, it's all theater. They're actors. It's all fake. Trump praising the cover up here. He says AG Pam Bondi under intense fire from the Trump deranged radical left lunatics. Sounds just like Sean Hannity. These are talking points from the CIA, by the way. Was fantastic at yesterday's hearing on the never-ending saga of Jeffrey Epstein, where the one thing that has been proven conclusively, much to their chagrin, was that President Donald J. Trump has been 100% exonerated of their ridiculous Russia type charges. But that's simply not true. He hasn't been exonerated. He's named in that last document dump a whole bunch of times. There's anonymous tips saying that he was a raper and child molester. Continuing here, actually, it is the slimeball Democrats, many of them big donors and politicians, that have been proven guilty. Nobody's been proven guilty because nobody's even been prosecuted. Nobody's even been charged, let alone prosecuted any of this. Republican loser, sanctimonious rhino, Congressman Thomas Massey made a total fool of himself yesterday, fighting aimlessly against a hopeless agenda of hate and stupidity. So to want to hold this giant Illuminati sex trafficking, baby eating, blood drinking cult accountable is a hopeless agenda of hate and stupidity, according to Trump. As most clearly stated by his crashing job approval numbers in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, where a military hero opponent, Ed Gallrain, is crushing him in the polls. He is now in wacky Liz Cheney territory. Nobody cared about Epstein when he was alive. They only cared about him when they thought he could create political harm to a very popular president who has brought our country back from the brink of extinction, and very quickly at that. In fact, this attempt by the Democrats to take away attention from tremendous Republican success is backfiring badly. Trump is so tone deaf and disconnected. Even the normies are talking about, oh yeah, have you heard the elites are eating babies? He's so disconnected, man. Maybe they should focus on their quest to open our borders to the world's greatest criminals, have transgender for everybody, or get men, no matter the size or strength, to play in women's sports. All these are old talking points because Trump is old and tired. He's gonna lose. The Republicans are going to lose the midterms because he's spouting CIA talking points, and he's spouting old culture war talking points and denying the reality that even normies are coming to learn about the evil in the Epstein files here now. And this doesn't hit right anymore, what they're doing at the White House. Here's Melania Trump. Russian Ukrainian children reunified. So they're trafficking. They're now involved. The White House is involved in trafficking these kids. I mean, that's the only way we can see it. No more, they have no more grace. You understand? They have no more grace for any of this to be explained away. You're messing with kids or trafficker in this thing now. You see? Their grace is gone. They've destroyed it themselves. You saw Trump destroyed any grace he could have ever thought of having from the people. First Lady Melania Trump secures another Russian-Ukrainian child unification trafficking. Right here from the White House. The American First Lady stated, I appreciate that Russia and Ukraine are dedicated to bringing back the children who have been displaced because of the circumstances surrounding this conflict. Although all parties are cooperating and our communications remain robust, I urge Russia and Ukraine to intensify their efforts to ensure the safe return of every child to their families and guardians. The White House is trafficking children. Straight up. They're going after Code Pink. They're left-winger, hard left-wingers. I'll give them that, but hey, they're hard anti-war activists as well. They're going after Code Pink at the State Department. Organizations like Code Pink and the People's Forum denigrate the United States, whitewash the violence of Marxist regimes, and run cover for narco-terrorists like Maduro, while enjoying an influx of cash from a donor network with connections to the Communist Chinese Party. That may very well be true, but they are calling him out. They're staunch anti-war. And so the same could be said on the right-wing side for aardvark support, right? But that's AIPAC is, you know, an American institution, we're told. So all the hype, we're draining the swamp, getting all the bad guys. Trump's retribution campaign hits a losing streak. Let's take a look at this report from Axios. Yep, turns out they did it to me again, damn it. It was not behind a paywall. Well, they just go through the Trump losses because there's big headline news. Oh, we're getting all the bad guys. We indicted Comey. He got off, what, once? He got off. They screwed up the case at Bondi's DOJ. Letitia James, New York Attorney General, we're getting her. Nah, turns out not so much. You know what I mean? There's more. Should I try to look it up, break the paywall quick? Because I wanted to do the heck is it? Yeah, sorry to do this live streaming. Yeah, I guess it's not going to work. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to work. Let's just try to break it real quick here. Sorry about that. Most of the time, well, it does that a lot. You get the link and you're like, oh yeah, I could read this story. And then you go back to it. It's like, nope, we put up a paywall. Damn, man. That sucks because I wanted to read the details of this story. Okay, continuing here. We'll see if we can break this paywall live here. Yep, here we go. Okay, this is, apologies for that again. So yeah, here's Trump's retribution campaign hits losing streak. And I remember all the excitement. We're draining the swamp. We're getting the Comeys and all of them. Yeah, it turns out not so much. Comey case unravels in court. Federal grand jury in September declined to indict Comey. James case tossed out twice. Charges against New York Attorney General Letitia James were tossed out in November. They blew that filing. DOJ loses sandwich assault case. Remember that? We covered that. The paralegal that worked, that was actually government crime. And so it was a paralegal that worked at the DOJ that threw that sandwich that threatened the life of that Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol agent. Remember that, all that? Well, they lost that. Indictment bid against the 6 Democrats. We covered that. The seditious 6. Remember all that? Yeah. They're not getting indicted either. So there you go. Law and order. But Trump's getting his, so you don't worry about that. U.S. judge has rejected the BBC's request to pause discovery in the $10 billion lawsuit filed by Trump against the BBC, according to Reuters. Something Trump did that I do agree with here now, rolling back all of these climate change policies through the EPA and Department of Energy. Let's take a listen to today. They say, Trump says, under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers.
Today by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who you all know, and to announce the single largest deregulatory action in American history. That's a big statement, in American history. and I think we can add the words by far. Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers. Prices went up incredibly for a worse product. This action will eliminate over $1.3 trillion of regulatory costs and help bring car prices tumbling down dramatically. You're going to get a better car. You're going to get a car that starts easier, a car that...
There's more. Under the endangerment finding, they forced the start-stop feature on American customers, where you stop at a light, the engine turns off. You've seen that in newer vehicles. That's annoying. Well, let's hear from Lee Zeldin, head of the EPA.
Today's action does not change regulations on traditional air pollutants and air toxics. This EPA is committed to providing clean air for all Americans. Powering the Great American Comeback is based on the singular focus of providing clean air, land, and water for all Americans while harnessing the greatness of the American economy. That's a big difference from our predecessor. We believe that we can and must choose both. If you want an electric vehicle, buy one.
You see, they're putting us back on the Rockefeller oil oligarchs program here instead of unleashing breakthrough alternative energy, which they have on a shelf. And it does pollute the environment. We do need alternatives. We're back on Rockefeller oligarch oil is the bad side of this. But hey, they declared, that is, the EPA under the Biden administration declared that CO₂ and other greenhouse gases were a public health threat, and that allowed them to do all kind of crazy regulations. So it's a big deal. They pulled that. They changed that ruling.
What do you tell Americans who are concerned that the $1.3 trillion in savings does come at a cost to public health and the environment based on science?
I tell them don't worry about it because it has nothing to do with public health. This was all a scam, a giant scam. This was a ripoff of the country by Obama. And
I agree with Trump on that, but he's going to run he's running another scam is the freaking problem here. I guess their scam tied into UN Agenda 2030. That's still there. You know what I mean? When is it? If we get whoever in the chief executive, the president, they can jump right back in Agenda 2030. This is slowing them down. This is slowing them down through America, but the rest of the world's still on board with. China says they're accelerating it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a major victory. Trump allies near total victory in wiping out U.S. climate regulation. But again, that was a scam, and now Trump's got the new old scam, the Rockefeller oil oligarchs, to keep us on that old dirty system of energy and monopoly control. So they claim, may very well be, they claim all of this deregulation. Well, they say the White House says the Trump administration is revoking the 2009 Obama era endangerment finding, the basis that radical left activists used to justify over $1.3 trillion in crushing regulations on American families and businesses. This is the single largest deregulation in U.S. history. Kind of a big deal. They claim, the White House claims, $2,400 in savings on average per vehicle. That may be close. I haven't done the math or tried to figure it out. We'll give them that one. I think I'll give them this one. Okay. Tariff revenue soars more than 300%. I'm not giving them anything on the tariffs because we're waiting still, right? All their big talk about tariffs, it could all be blowing up. And where is that ruling, right? Supreme Court is sitting on it. Allegedly, they've decided months ago how they were going to rule on it. And they're sitting on the ruling here now to release it at a politically advantageous time, dare I say. So we're waiting on Supreme Court ruling on Trump's tariffs, if they're constitutional or not. And look, here's the good news of the day about the economy for everybody. The Dow Jones, there you go. It's below 50,000. So now the Justice Department can prosecute the child molesters? No, that's not going to happen. Regardless of the stock market, all the markets were down today. Take a look at this. This is E. Everything was in the red today. Maybe failing confidence in the integrity of the U.S. government has something to do with it, because yeah, they're looking very illegitimate at this point. But you can see across the board here, everything down: the S&P 500, the Dow, NASDAQ, gold, silver, Bitcoin, everything down across the board in all of those markets today. Let's see where we're at live in overseas trading. Gold and silver back up. They can't hold it down overseas. Bitcoin back up a little bit. Yeah, gold 4,973 right now, live trading overseas. Silver $76.81. So they are looking good over there overseas, at least the precious metals. And Bitcoin like stuck at 66,200 and something as live trading overseas goes on now. Microsoft AI CEO says your white collar job is gone in 18 months. Let's listen to this. Not good for the economy here.
You talk about superintelligence. Most of your rivals talk about AGI, artificial general intelligence. Explain the difference between AGI and superintelligence.
I prefer the definition that focuses first on what would it take to build a system that could achieve most of the tasks that a regular professional in a workplace goes about on a daily basis. Think of it as a professional grade AGI.
How close are we?
I think that we're going to have a human level performance on most, if not all, professional tasks. So white collar work where you're sitting down at a computer, either being, a lawyer or an accountant or a project manager or a marketing person. Most of those tasks will be fully automated by an AI within the next 12 to 18 months. And we can see this in software engineering. Many software engineers report that they are now using AI-assisted coding for the vast majority of their code production, which means that their role shifted now to this meta function of debugging, scrutinizing, of doing the strategic stuff like architecting, of, et cetera, putting things into production. So it's a quite different relationship to the technology. And that's happened in the last 6 months.
I agree with them in accounting. I've already done it. In accounting work, doing what he's saying there, curating, cleaning up on the back end of AI, doing a whole lot of that work. So I'm firsthand testimony that is correct, at least in accounting. Anything else, I don't know. I'm not working in that professionally. Okay. Yesterday, the White House is championing beautiful, clean coal, a revival of the industry. Is it clean? Allegedly, we can burn coal and have the emissions be clean, allegedly. I mean, I do believe we have the technology, but, you know, are they going to cut corners? Trump revokes EPA finding on greenhouse gas. It's a big deal. It is a big deal what they announced today. Part of the oil, Rockefeller oil oligarchy here, we're taking over. We basically have, well, we have taken over Venezuelans' oil industry with freaking gunboats sitting right off, saying, hey, we got half the Navy sitting right here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we own your oil now, Venezuela. Here's what Trump had to say about it. He said, relations between Venezuela and the United States have been, to put it mildly, extraordinary. Yeah, because we're literally sitting right here with a freaking gun pointed at them. You know what I mean? It's your gangster capitalism at its finest here to build the American technocracy. Trump went on to say here, we are dealing very well with President Delcy Rodriguez and her representatives. Yeah, or you'll be kidnapped, old Delcy, and your representatives will be zapped with a directed energy weapon, you see. Oil is starting to flow, and large amounts of money unseen for many years will soon be greatly helping the people of Venezuela. We'll see. We'll see. I hope it does, honestly. I hope it does help the people of Venezuela, but call me cynical about this whole deal. Little Marco Rubio and all of our representatives are doing a fantastic job, but we speak only for ourselves and don't want there to be any confusion or misrepresentation. We're acting like you run the freaking country now. What, like a couple of weeks ago, you put that you're the acting president of Venezuela. There is a story about a man named Harry Sargent III in the Wall Street Journal. He has no authority in any way, shape, or form to act on the behalf of the United States. Well, neither does Jared Kushner. That never stopped him. Nor does anyone else that is not approved by the State Department. Without this approval, no one is authorized to represent our country. They put up an American flag there in Venezuela, or you get shot with a directed energy weapon, you see. The Trump effect, the Secretary of Energy. Yeah, you put a gun to somebody's head, they'll put your stupid flag up. You know what I mean? In March 2019, U.S. closes its embassy in Venezuela. February 2026, there is an American flag outside the presidential palace in Caracas. The oil oligarchs, here they are. Global refining president Andy Walls on Venezuelan oil.
That's the number one question I get. Okay, all this oil is coming in, so when are gas prices going down?
I think they are going down. They are going down. I mean, Venezuela's just started to flow, but I went by a station today and it was $2.39. That's a pretty good price for gasoline today in Mississippi.
How low do you think it can go and you can still make money?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I think, look, that's a really
I feel like
tough
there's many
question.
types of fuel, Lauren.
Yeah, look, I do think ultimately it's good for Venezuela. It's good for the American consumer because you're adding supply. More supply drives down the price, and that'll eventually go to the pump.
So we stole Venezuela oil for cheap gas here in America? That's what they're trying to say. Here's the energy secretary there in Venezuela, Chris Wright.
We are going to work together with the officials in Venezuela to evaluate all of the business deals that are in the country and evaluate what look to be in the best interests of Venezuela and the Western Hemisphere.
Of Venezuela and the Western Hemisphere. They should just come out and say the best interest of the American technate. He went on to say, we'll see pretty significant 30 to 40% growth in Venezuela oil production this year. We've got to change the game in Venezuela for a win for Venezuelans and a win for America and a win for our hemisphere. They went and just stole all the country's oil. It's a win for you guys. Don't you get it? Don't you get it? There was a accident at sea. 2 U.S. Navy ships collide during refueling there. The U.S. Truxtun and the USNS Supply collided during a refueling operation near South America, leaving 2 sailors with minor injuries, according to the Wall Street Journal. The Senate rejected funding DHS 52 to 47, so a partial government shutdown may be happening again. Department of Homeland Security posted this. Remember what they did to our country. Well, no one's been held accountable as per usual for all of the wrongdoings done against us and our country. No one is ever held accountable. You can blame the illegals. Remember all this? Yeah. No one in any position of authority ever held accountable. Mayorkas, dare I say. All the same feds, order followers that work for the feds that allowed this to happen. The large majority are the same feds that are acting like they're cleaning up all of this they allowed to happen in the first place. Department of Homeland Security has jokes today. If you or I said this, they kick our door in, but celebrities are allowed to, as we know, there's 2 different classes of society. Cardi B jokingly threatens to jump ice at her concert. That's a joke. As long as she doesn't drug and rob our agents, we'll consider that an improvement over her past behavior. Because, of course, she famously has said she would drug men working as a dancer, prostitute, whatever you want to call her, a whore. She would drug men and rob them. And that's a Cardi B there. And Department of Homeland Security thinks that's a funny joke, apparently. So, mass deportations? I don't know. They're wrapping up operations there in Minnesota. The whole thing looked to be a political attack on Tim Walz, in my opinion. And they rolled out the whole Somali fraud narrative as cover to attack Tim Walz. Rightfully so, but Americans died in the process and many of our rights were violated, all for this government's political games.
With that, and success that has been made addressing public safety threats and other priorities since this search operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this search operation conclude.
Operation Metro Surge there in Minnesota is concluded. Here, ICE says they've located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children.
In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children. Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because of the leadership of President Trump, these children were.
Again, we're a broken record. No one in any position of authority that allowed this to happen has been held accountable. They got the bad illegals who are abusing them, but there's a lot more to the story. And just more from Holman there. I think we'll skip that. Voluntary departures hit record high as detained immigrants lose hope of getting released or winning in court. ZBS News. As pathways to freedom have narrowed in immigration courts across America, a record number of detainees are giving up their cases and voluntarily leaving the country. Last year, 28% of completed immigration removal cases among those in detention ended in voluntary departure, a higher share than in any year prior. That figure only appears to be climbing as the Trump administration's immigration crackdown widens and detention populations swell. The percentage of voluntary departures among those detained grew nearly every month of 2025, reaching 38% in December. It's set up for every individual who is detained to get to the point where they're just emotionally drained and exhausted through all of it. The way that we're being treated, to just say, okay, all I want is my freedom, and to opt into self-deporting here now with bad conditions being reported at many of these migrant detention facilities, i.e. FEMA camps. About 73,000 people were held in ICE detention in mid-January, the highest level ever recorded. And so again, on the government side, the immigration system is broken. They're essentially torturing these people into forced self-deportation. And so it's broken all the way around, and still no reform from the system. A lot of propaganda, but no reform and no mass deportations. But a bunch of migrant detention facilities, warehouses, i.e. FEMA camps being built, and a massive surveillance grid being built. Where are we at here? I think that's all we got. A little bit on public health here from Bobby Kennedy Jr. We had to have some comedy for the day here.
And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And yeah, I know this disease will kill me.
when you look at it like that, I guess not too afraid of germs. Don't do drugs, kids. Seriously. And then they have Mike Tyson today out there. We covered it yesterday. There's another video here threatening people that to not eat fake food or he'll punch you in the gut. That's literally a government campaign now. Is Mike Tyson threatening you to eat real food? Yeah, that's where we're at. Like, pretty dystopic, but what the hell? What are they saying here today? Well, here's the clip. We played that short one yesterday. Here's the longer one with Mike Tyson. Urging the American people to eat real food. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. I'm here with Iron Mike Tyson, the heavyweight champion of the world, 44 TKOs. And his biggest battle has been with obesity, his own and his family. First, I'm going to introduce my partner, Brooke Rollins, the USDA Secretary, who understands the integral relationship between farm prosperity and good food. We need to do both. We've got the best food system in this country. We want to make sure Americans are eating real food.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Brooke Rollins, what a joy to be here today, obviously with my partner, Bobby Kennedy, but the extraordinary Mike Tyson and his ability to talk about the importance of eating real food and what this effort means for America and making America healthy again. Mike, what a joy to have you with us today. You're going to help us make an even bigger difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. Eat real food. Eat real food. Trust me.
Produced by the U.S.
Convicted rapist Mike Tyson there, threatening America to eat real food. And again, they don't mention GMOs at all here in this new campaign. All right. Where are we at? We got on to the Epstein news. I know everybody's been waiting for it, right? Well, here it is. Here it is. Here's Trump today. And so still no shame. No, he's going to lose the midterms here because he's tone deaf and in an echo chamber of child molesters.
President, were you aware that Secretary of Commerce visited Epstein's island, and do you continue to have?
No, I wasn't aware of it. No, I didn't. I actually haven't spoken to him about it. I wasn't. But from what I hear, he was there with his wife and children. And I guess in some cases, some people were. I wasn't. I was never there. Somebody will someday say that. I was never there.
Pretty defensive there, Trump. And why are you not freaking out? Oh, yeah. Your Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, took his wife and children to freaking Epstein Island. And you're just like, well, I wasn't there. Very defensive, Trump. Howard Lutnick invited Jeffrey Epstein to a Hillary Clinton fundraiser in 2015. So you know Howard Lutnick, he's a strong conservative right-winger. All these people are fake, full of shit, lying to us, you see, for their own benefit. That's 7 years after Epstein's conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor, i.e. child sex trafficking. That's Trump's Commerce Secretary. Yeah. Yeah, and that's Trump casually saying, acknowledging the fact he took his family to Epstein Island. Hi, more from Emma Catherine here. Again, she's a interviewer out there interviewing a lot of victims of MK Ultra, mind control programs, and all these other occult programs using trauma-based, fear-based mind control on children. All this stuff starting to tie together. A lot of people say, hey, were the missing kids on the back of milk cartons in the 80s? Remember that? Was that just like Epstein shopping list? You know what I mean? Starting to look like that. Starting to look like that. All kind of secret calms going on in plain sight, backhandedly looking like they're doing the right thing when it's all part of this cult. Emma Catherine had this to say. She said, GATE and other gifted and talented programs are still recruiting, experimenting on, and scouting children for MK Ultra and related projects sponsored by the CIA and government. There's a reason why so many of you who were in these programs have little to no memory of what happened to you in these classes. I've also seen reports of they were shoveling a bunch of fluoride down their throat as fast as they could during these gifted programs. This is what we didn't have time for yesterday, but we do have time for today. And I'm going to play it because we're connecting all the dots here. Maybe someday, some way. You know what I mean? MK Ultra, very real, very well documented, and still going on today, I do believe. But here's a clip from Emma Catherine with one of the survivors talking about in MK Ultra, the CIA would experiment on children using LSD. Let's watch this about 4.5 minute clip because it all ties together. It all ties together.
Started experimenting on me. We already had black and white TV, and they're doing experiments on us to see how they could further use color TV to mind control the masses. So for me, you know, I would remember night after night, week, month, year after year, I think it almost went on for a decade, that I would lie in bed at night and all I could see were the mind controlled grids that I had to sit at during the day and stare at. So this was like a grid of about 8 boxes that way, 4 that way, sort of pastel colors that just kept on alternating. And that was, you know, that was the thing that when I'd go to sleep at night and close my eyes, all I would see. And so I have very, very vivid memories of that. Later in life, I got involved with someone who was part of the Disney family. So I started doing research on that. Yeah, I had these interesting crossing paths, whether they were intentional or unintentional, with very well-connected people in the world over my life, which is, I haven't sought that out, it's just happened. So when I started researching Walt Disney and the history of Disney cartoons, I've got to go back and try and find the book. But it talked about how everything to do with how Mickey Mouse and all the rest of them are drawn is total mind control. So everything has to be based on curves rather than points, and so on and so on. So you gotta realize during the 40s and 50s, or late 40s, 50s, end of the Second World War, there's this huge push for the intelligence agencies basically to learn how to control society. And I was one of the subjects of that. There were tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people put through that, not just here, but in Canada, America, the UK. The CIA wasn't allowed to do it on their own soil, which they did do. Recently, I read the book Chaos about Charles Manson. And again, that all ended up connecting to MK Ultra and Operation Paperclip and everything. Again, you start to see the patterns of how they actually mind control people. And so often it's LSD, which I remember as a child being given, which was, for me, a horrific experience. It wasn't like, oh, this is fun. It was, they gave me a dose that blasted me through galaxies. And that scared the hell out of me as a kid. So, you know, out of body used to be safe. Then it was like, I'm not going back there again. So that, you know, you've got to realise it's particularly during the 50s, CIA has been formed. We're forming intelligence agencies in Australia called ASIO. You know, we've got America starting to do intelligence places here like Pine Gap and things like that. And they were full on experimenting with everything. You know, they ended up saying, oh, the experiments were useless and didn't work. That's a bunch of lies. They worked very, well, not 100% effectively because we're all speaking up and remembering, but they were, in the short term, they were sort of effective. I mean, I look at what they did to my parents and how they turned them both into killers. And they may have been like that to begin with. You know, my father, from what I've been able to obtain through different sources, he started killing, I think, either late teens or early 20s, and then went on from there. The police refused to touch him. You know, the number of times I've gone to them at different levels, they want to incarcerate me, not him. They want to make me out to be crazy rather than do anything with him. And so often the cover-up, you know, gives you a lot more evidence as well. So, you know, if my father had been no one, you know, they would have gone in there and done something. But, you know, there's more for me to discover on that. So it's sort of like putting a jigsaw puzzle back together when you go through this sort of thing. Is in the beginning, you know, you've got these huge gaps, but as you go on, and if you can get the research and get the evidence, then things start to make sense. So at this stage in my life makes more sense than it ever has. But it's taken me, you know, almost 60 years to start to work it out. And I think that's a fairly typical life for a survivor.
There you go. Disney is mind control. Hundreds of pages in Epstein files discovered government mind control experiments. Buried in the Epstein document dump is a massive file detailing directed energy and mind control technology used on people without consent. Government human experimentation causing permanent psychological damage lists symptoms: anxiety, insomnia from graphic imagery of rape and abduction, fear of relationships, constant stress, isolation from family. That's in Epstein document file number EFTA 00262811. Here it is. Everybody should look this up. It's all tied together. Suspicious activity of altered states of mind has been recognized and recorded during the act of targeting and presents itself in the form of and use of highly developed classified technology to conduct human experimentation on the human mind in the form of satellite and radio frequencies being used to affect and interfere with the electrical impulses of the human brain, and being conducted by the government targeting the victim and her family, and also includes military services. The highly sophisticated, developed, and designed technology involving the use of radio frequency and satellite frequency was discovered and revealed during contact with the company. Yeah. An unclassified FBI report where a caller makes serious allegations against Epstein, Maxwell, and Trump. The document literally quotes the caller saying, this is calling into the FBI tip line, Donald J. Trump has raped her along with Epstein. Again, this has not been confirmed. Here is the tip to the FBI making these claims of Trump being a rapist along with Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe some investigation. They put out that psyop. Oh, Trump called the cops on him back when he found out they were up to no good. Really? Then why is he running around saying it's a Democrat hoax and there's nothing to see there? Their BS cover stories are not jiving here. They're not jiving for anybody that wants to connect the dots up. Congresswoman Nancy Mace is trying to make political hay out of this, apparently. She's campaigning heavy now to reveal she's revealed that members of Congress who view unredacted Epstein files are being tracked and surveilled through Microsoft products. She says they're tracking every file we open. When we open it, they're tracking everything. They're tracking us. Even our lawmakers, Congress, are saying the intelligence agencies intimidating them through surveillance to, you know what I mean? Like, damn, dude, that's where we're at here. If we're to believe Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Epstein spy cam footage, a bunch of spy cam footage was released. How much did they say? There was hours and hours and hours. Obviously, we don't have time to go through that. Let's see. Epstein spy cam footage was released. Channel 4 News obtained hidden camera footage from inside Epstein's Palm Beach home. For the first time, the public seeing it. It shows a man, likely Epstein, who appears to be with Maxwell, manipulate women or girls. The footage captures intimate contact at Epstein's desk with an unidentified woman or girl. The camera was hidden inside a clock. Police detective Joseph Riccardi confirmed in 2016 affidavit that there were two covert clock cameras, one in the garage and one in the library. Here's the twist. Police may have actually helped Epstein install it after a 2003 burglary at his home. This is from one camera. How long is this? Well, there's 15 minutes worth of this. We're not going to play it here, but you can dig into it and find even more from these hidden clock cameras, i.e. blackmail cameras. He had 24-hour surveillance video running all over all of his properties, i.e. the blackmail material collection system. So we'll post a link at Weaponized News Substack. You could look through it if you, or search it up and find, search Channel 4 hidden Epstein camera footage, and you could go take a look at that. An unclassified FBI report. We talked about that one. Sorry about that. These images came out. Who is this man? Is it Dershowitz? Is it Shadow President of America Bibi? Or none of the above? Maybe it's none of these guys, and we're just too suspicious of them, especially Dershowitz. So these grainy, pixelated images came out. Is that Dershowitz? I don't know. Apparently naked with a child? I don't know. Is that Dershowitz? He sure protests a lot. Dershowitz is protesting a lot, as is Trump. Acting kind of guilty here. Dershowitz says that Epstein would have told him if he worked for the Mossad or the CIA, and so that he wasn't part of any intelligence operation, or he would have told this lawyer Dershowitz. And we can trust Dershowitz that he's telling the truth here now, right? Yeah, not so much. As there's still ZBS News and we can't even say the word Zio, right? We can't even, the Z's. We'll have to change the letter soon. The censorship is so crazy. We're gonna have to speak, I guess, sign language. I don't know, smoke signals, because Zio's the new N word. Anyway, these bad guys from that place over there, you know what I mean? It's just like, that's where we'll be at here soon. As they're trying to spin a narrative that Epstein was a Russian spy. Still, that's out there. They're trying to spin that narrative. An Epstein email shows discussion of large bird cages to be placed inside of a round wall on top of the mountain. The exchange includes requests for pricing, cage sizes, and attached photos of cages. Multiple girls have reported being locked in cages. So they're talking about the cages to keep their torture victims in. Here, you see. Indeed. Epstein forwards a plastic surgeon's message about babyface procedure, tip refinement, nostril narrowing, upper nose untouched, 1.5 hours twilight anesthesia, no pain or bruising, fly in 8 to 10 days. How many girls got surgery paid, arranged by him? His medical connections run deep. We've covered a couple of these doctors, his gynecologist, that other, I forget even the guy's name now. There's so many of these characters. Here is that email. Subject line, babyface. So did Epstein didn't kill himself? He didn't kill himself. They paraded a fake body out of the front of the prison there in New York, and he went out the back. Probably has plastic surgery by now. I've seen these a couple images on the internet of a guy that looks like Epstein with a long beard, hair, and they're like, he's hanging out in aardvark land. I don't know. It's unconfirmed. But I wouldn't doubt at all if he went and had plastic surgery after he didn't die in that New York jail. Epstein casually chatting with Bannon, joking about being called a disgraced, reviled pedophile. Here, the two creeps were literally emailing about pedophilia like it was some kind of side joke. Here's that email interaction. So how does Bannon have any credibility at all with MAGA right-wing populists? Still got a lot more to get to. We got to take the live commercial break here as we're already past the hour mark. We'll come back with more Epstein, get into geopolitical news. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself the sticker there, holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and a clear sticker, weaponizednews.com. Check them out right there. Put on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat. Help spread the word about independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week at Weaponized News. Go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself some stickers. We've got baseball caps, beanies, T-shirts with the Weaponized News logo representing. We have custom shirts over there as well. Bunch of items in the Weaponized News store. Go take a look. We appreciate the patronage to the store. We take donations as well. Go to the link in this below this video. There's a store link, buy me a coffee, Cash App links, Bitcoin wallet address. On the front page of Weaponized News, you can donate through PayPal. We take, and all of your subscriptions are much appreciated on all the different platforms. I still haven't had time to figure out which one's the best value to be pitching that John said I should do, and I will do, John out there on the Odysee, but I just haven't had time. This is like the most, they're hitting us with information overload here now, yesterday especially. But anyway, that is in the back of my mind to sort out. All of the subscribers are on all the different platforms are truly appreciated. Thank you very much. Give us that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that's free. We appreciate it. very much everybody who is tuning in to Weaponized News and helping share the content as we connect the dots and continually be vindicated here now. And with that, we'll come back to the second half of Weaponized News. Welcome back on this Thursday, February 12th, 2026 edition of Weaponized News, as we're just in the middle of digging through these Epstein emails. I went to commercial break talking about how the hell does Steve Bannon have any credibility whatsoever with MAGA right-wing populist America First movement when he's neck deep in Epstein and literally ran a campaign to rehab Epstein's public image after he was convicted sex offender. That's your right-wing populist hero, Steve Bannon, Sloppy Steve, affectionately deemed by Trump. How's this square with MAGA? There's more creepy emails here between Bannon and Epstein. Creepy Bannon didn't want us to discuss his taste about baby gene editing. Here's the email between him and Bannon. Maybe MAGA. What? Denver? You're going to trigger some red hat wearers out there. Warning. Warning. Trigger warning. File claims the Queen was an Epstein client. The Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. We've been knowing she's a baby eater for a long time, no? Thought that was known. Public. UK public don't know. At least the bootlickers of the monarchy. But I thought it was known how evil the English monarchy is. Well, here's some more evidence to that effect. Turns out a newly released document quotes Murray Gale Mann saying he was under the impression that Epstein's clients include the Queen of England, but there's no independent confirmation. But hey, it's in there. The Queen of England. Obama's ex-White House lawyer was sending Epstein birthday messages and calling his victim's lawsuit a money grab. She literally wrote, "Victims writes my ass" in an email, asked about visiting his island, thanked him for designer gifts, signed emails, hugs and kisses, now claims they were just professional contacts. That's according to a report by CNN. Someone gave Epstein permission to kill someone in one of these emails, but we don't know who because it's redacted. No one will lie to you and get away with it from me. No one. Whoops is correct. I give you permission to kill him. He is also apparently he lied to you and he lied to me. Redacted, redacted. Leon Black, Wall Street billionaire, accused in the Epstein files of raping a 16-year-old while at Epstein's townhouse. The assault was so brutal she bled. Did they take her to the hospital? No. They flew her out of state. This sick man founded one of the world's largest private equity firms, still worth billions of dollars, and he's still doing the same program, I would assume. Leon Black here. There he is, Leon Black. Wall Street billionaire and alleged child raper. France had Epstein's entire email account 6 years ago. The French police never told anyone. French police seized Epstein's Gmail account along with 4,500 outgoing messages, photos, documents, everything there. That happened in 2019 during a search of his Paris apartment. French police have sat on all the evidence there. There's that report. So yeah. Oh, they found a bunch of blackmail material? And what about the money? What about the money? What about the money? Deutsche Bank kept moving cash for Epstein in 2019. DOJ files show Deutsche Bank was still handling Epstein's accounts months after saying it would cut ties with him, including arranging 50,000 euros in cash for a European trip in April 2019. An employee noted he likes to have cash with him when he travels, so he was being flagged. Epstein kept the ability to make unusual moves on top of already unusual moves. Report out of Reuters. Bank of America to face class action lawsuit from Epstein victims. A federal judge ruled the lawsuit can proceed. The court found credible claims that Bank of America recklessly ignored red flags and provided non-routine services while knowing or should have known about Epstein's sex trafficking operation. JP Morgan already settled with victims for $290 million and paid $75 million to the U.S. Virgin Islands. No criminal charges. You see, the cost of doing business for laundering, sex trafficking, dirty money, and other dirty money through Epstein network. No one in these banks ever gets in trouble. They pay a fine, cost of doing business, and move on. When are we going to put a stop to this shit? Apparently never, because the Dow is now below 50,000, so maybe there's a chance. Deutsche Bank paid $150 million to New York regulators. Now, Bank of America is looking to pay up. The financial trail is finally catching up with everyone who enabled Epstein, according to a report out of Reuters. Wait, they're teaching Epstein to make jerky at a restaurant called Cannibal? In 2013, now someone's organizing a cooking class for Jeffrey Epstein at the good old Cannibal to teach him jerky preparation. Here's the email. We don't know who, because it's redacted. Robo Mosquito Spy Tech, a mosquito-sized drone designed for surveillance, allegedly able to carry a camera and microphone, collect DNA, and plant RFID trackers, reportedly funded by the U.S. government as an Epstein request. So hell yeah, he was intelligence, because they're sending him these little mosquito spy drones. How the hell else you get it unless you're intelligence? Tether co-founder purposely living in the first Masonic temple ever built in the world. Brock Pierce, tied up with Lutnick. Here's that email. Sure thing, I live in the first Masonic temple built in the New World. People are figuring out about this, your school pictures, right? Remember we talked about the missing kids on the milk carton, the gifted children's programs? Well, what about your child's public school picture? Well, it turns out they're linked to Epstein. School photo company linked to Epstein. Clifton Schools addresses parents. This is AOL. It's finally breaking. 7 Seas had made this connection back in December. Back in December of what? December 4th, 2025, we put out this post saying, make sure your kids are skipping picture day. Light Touch Photography, the largest school photo company in the country, has been owned by Shutterfly since 2018. Schools all over the U.S. are canceling picture day due to Leon Black, the co-founder of the parent company that owns Life Touch, being listed in the Epstein files. Life Touch is the biggest school picture company in America and photographs millions of kids every year. They're using this as a shopping catalog for children to abduct, abuse, and run through the routine we've been covering here of MK Ultra, trauma-based, fear-based mind control. And they may wind up, getting eaten as well by these cannibal Satanists. So yeah, your kid's yearbook picture is actually a shopping catalog for the cult. Peter Thiel named 2,200 plus times in the Epstein files. Mr. Technocracy, Mr. Palantir, Mr. Surveillance State. Thiel's ties to Epstein run deep. Emails, meetings, shared circles, even after the 2008 conviction. Now the same company he co-founded fuels Aardvark Land's AI targeted kill list in Gaza, the West Bank, and ISIS mass deportation tracking system in America. It is no coincidence that the man is so deeply linked to Epstein built the tech backbone for some of the world's most controversial surveillance and enforcement ops. That's funny. It's not really controversial now, is it? When you have a government contract and the force of the government's gun behind you. Epstein victims. Let's watch this in this talking about their reaction. Epstein survivors speak in a town hall kind of a event there on NBC.
To see that she couldn't say sorry to us, because she sat there in the beginning, she said sorry for what Jeffrey Epstein did to us, but yet she couldn't apologize what she did to us, what her department did to us, right? It's like you had one job, was to redact our names, to respect our privacy, but yet you carefully took the time to redact all these powerful rich men. So it's like, is it your department that can't keep up with, are you guys being sloppy? What's going on here? It's what we wonder every day. Yeah. Where did it go wrong? And then I think we all realize now, oh, you guys really wanted to silence us. And you thought that you could scare us by putting our names out there. And to be honest with you, we've been through worse. This is nothing for us. If anything, this encourages us to speak.
The DOJ doxed the victims, but the perpetrators of this evil, their names are still redacted. Here's Emerald Robinson post from earlier today. She says, a satanic pedophile gang rules the world. The head of that ring was an agent for Aardvark Land and working for the CIA too. The United States government is trying to protect the satanic pedophile ring for reasons of, quote, national security. This is the darkest moment in our history. And this was so good. I'm going to play it again. This is a different version, a different angle, but this is how Iran celebrated its revolution with the burning of the effigy of Baal. And we should have this for America 250 on the White House lawn. But I seriously doubt we're going to get this level of dissidence out of the America 250 crowd. So that's what we actually need to be the celebration of America 250 July 4th, is the burning of a Baal effigy and the obelisk there as well. Of course, that would never happen in Washington, D.C. Now, would it? The United States has bombed Somalia for the 30th time this year. It's February 12th, 2026. U.S. has bombed Somalia for the 30th time this year. Report out of antiwar.com. U.S. military aided mass child rape in Afghanistan. Now its soldiers are committing this crime at Fort Bragg. Report out of mintpress.com. There's an epidemic of child sex crimes in and around Fort Bragg, North Carolina, since 2021 and the American withdrawal from Afghanistan. Dozens of elite soldiers stationed at the military base have been convicted of raping children, distributing child pornography, and other similar offenses. Many of these soldiers served in Afghanistan, where it is now acknowledged that the United States military aided their local allies in Baka boy play, the practice of kidnapping and keeping boys as sex slaves, large numbers of whom were enslaved on U.S. military compounds. And they get into all the sordid details there. Continuing, the CIA released a new Mandarin language recruitment video targeting disillusioned members of China's military and officials with access to sensitive information. Do you have information about high-ranking Chinese leaders? Please contact us. Here's the new CIA Chinese recruitment video.
这是我熟悉的世界，保家卫国，保护人民。然而日复一日，真相越发显而易见，领导们真正在保护的只有他们自己的私利，他们的权力建筑在无数的谎言上，但现在这些谎言壁垒逐渐坍塌，最后留下给我们的就是收拾残局。任何有领导能力的人必定遭受忌惮，被无情绞杀。我不能让这些狂人来塑造我女儿未来的世界。历史经验告诉我们，不战而胜者才是最大的赢家。但这些未经战火的人却迫不及待想让我们投身沙场。我是个战士，我的职责是保卫人民，守护祖国。选择这条道路，就是我为家为国的战斗方式。
There you go. Do your duty, Chinese, and join the Satan cabal of the CIA. U.S. finalizes deal to sell Taiwan $44.4 billion of natural gas and crude oil, $15.2 billion of, quote, civil air and engines, civil aircraft and engines, and $25.2 billion of power grid equipment, generators, marine equipment, and steelmaker equipment through 2029, according to a report out of Reuters, pissing off China. The Kremlin, and I saw this story and I was like, yeah, I don't know. According to Bloomberg, seems like some propaganda here out of Bloomberg. They say, according to a Kremlin memo to Trump, Russia wants to re-enter the dollar system for energy deals. Now that's a total reversal of Putin's de-dollarization push with China. Western officials are scratching their heads because it's unlikely for Putin to ditch Beijing. Report out of Bloomberg. Yeah, I don't think so. Even though, yeah, I believe they would like to be able to, trade in the Western banking system. I don't doubt that, but are they going to drop BRICS in China to come back into SWIFT system? I doubt it. And this from Simon, he wanted me to report this to you guys right from Russia, right? The dead end, I'll put it on the screen for you guys. The dead end in the international security system created by NATO and the EU requires not cosmetic reforms, but a paradigm shift. Russia proposes building a new architecture of equal and indivisible security across the entire Eurasian continent through the greater Eurasian partnership that Simon's been beating the drum about for years here now, right? The Charter of Multipolarity and cooperation among SCO, BRICS, EA, EU, ASEAN, and OSCE turned into an instrument of hybrid warfare must make a choice, remain a mouthpiece for Western-centric approaches, or join the constructive work. Greater Eurasian Partnership, right from Russia. There you can see we have documentaries about it on our YouTube, free for your viewing, for that deep geopolitical dive to understand all of these moving pieces in a new world order. American troops are pulling out of a second base in Syria next week. U.S. forces are shrinking their footprint in the region fast. Possible preparation for a regional war with Iran, dare I say. Here's Trump on Iran earlier today.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them.
Trump administration discreetly arranged for about 6,000 Starlink satellite terminals to be smuggled into Iran because they care about the people of Iran's internet access. No, the Starlink system is fully weaponized, you see. That's a report out of the Wall Street Journal, trying to smuggle Starlink into Iran there now. Aardvarkland spyware company accidentally exposes surveillance dashboard. Paragon reportedly shared a screenshot of its own surveillance software dashboard by mistake, raising major operational security concerns as the firm's spyware has been linked to targeting journalists and government critics. The most worrying part is ICE and various U.S. government agencies use Paragon. And so if you can't trust them with your security, posting this on their social medias, then I don't know who you can trust in clown world. Trust in Paragon, obviously. Continuing here. Iran's president said the country is ready to open its nuclear sites for any verification to prove it is not building nuclear weapons, amid ongoing talks to avoid possible U.S. military action, report out of the Financial Times. They're not allowed to have nukes. They're not allowed to have ballistic missiles. Pretty soon they're not going to be allowed to have a country because it's around all of our military bases. Here's more on Trump says the Aardvarkland president, Herzog, should be ashamed of himself for not giving Bibi a pardon. So here is why you should actually be very concerned about Trump. Is he signing off here once again? Well, he's now made the United States complicit in genocide, along with the Biden administration as well. He's continued our complicity in genocide, now calling for the pardon. But this is not for international war crimes. He's calling for Bibi to be pardoned within Aardvarkland because he's even too corrupt for aardvarks, is where we're at. And Trump is calling for a pardon of all his crimes. Maybe someday Trump will have to flee to Aardvarkland. We can only dream to escape American justice.
And And, you have a president that refuses to give him a pardon. I think that man should be ashamed of himself. A pardon over this trial that's going on. The president of Israel, the primary power he's got is the power to give pardons. And he's not, he said he's given it 5 different times, but he doesn't want to do it because I guess he loses his power. I think the people of Israel should really shame him. He's disgraceful for not giving it. He should give it. But Bibi's been a great wartime prime minister, and I've been the best friend to Israel I think that they've ever had. A lot of people say beyond precedent.
There you go. Trump, in his own words, the best friend to aardvark land they've ever had. Pure evil. Pure evil. Make no mistake about it. What did Bibi have to say about the meeting with Trump yesterday? He said, I've just concluded a short but important visit with Washington. Put out a video in language. So I'm just going to read it to you here now. We don't have the English translation, subtitles on the video. Bibi, shadow president of America, went on to say, the president believes that the Iranians have already learned who they are dealing with. I believe that the coordination he is creating combined, or the conditions, that he is creating combined with the fact that they certainly understand they made a mistake the last time, but by not reaching an agreement may create the conditions for achieving a good agreement. He wanted to hear my opinion. I will not hide from you that I expressed general skepticism regarding the quality of any agreement with Iran, but I said that if an agreement is indeed reached, it must include the elements that are very important to us from aardvark land's perspective. And in my view, not only aardvark land, it is not just the nuclear issue, it is also the ballistic missiles and the Iranian proxies. So there's 3 issues they claim now. Can't have nukes, can't have ballistic missiles, can't have Hezbollah or whatever other proxy. They got a bunch of them, right? That essentially concluded the discussion. I would say, although it, of course, also touched on Gaza, the entire region, and other general matters. And then here it is, beyond the pale of irony here and hypocrisy from your President Trump peace board. Aardvark land has joined the Board of Peace. There you go. It's admitted by the IDF over 70,000 Palestinians have been killed. I believe it's probably double that. It's a lot. We don't even know. We've been reporting on the vaporizing bombs that are dropping. And so, yeah, a lot of Palestinians will never even be recognized because they've been vaporized. Zio is the new N-word. There you go. Zio's the new N-word. The antiseptic slur is becoming acceptable as the racial epithet once was. What are you supposed to call them? They say that's who they are. We need a whole new code to even speak about those who can't be spoken of. Zio's the new N-word. BBC did that documentary about the West Bank settlers called the Ultra Zionists. Remember that? Well, yep. We need new code words here now. Aardvarks, anybody?
Also in this issue, David Christopher Kaufman, who is both Black and Jewish, has a really remarkable, powerful short piece called Zio is the New N-Word. the anti-Semitic slur is becoming acceptable. So this is how having spent his early years being called the N-word, he feels exactly the same kind of rage and emotional force being used when people throw out the term Zio for him. And Alan H. Rosenfeld of Indiana University, one of the world's foremost scholars of anti-Semitism and Jew hatred, has a really remarkable piece that called The Pornography of Anti-Semitism that links the emotional effect of anti-Semitic thought to the effect that pornography has on the human mind.
They do twist and spin there, don't they? Well, I guess they've now taken control of the letter Z, so we're going to have to change it to X. We saw this coming at Weaponized News a long time ago, i.e. aardvarks. Canada, UK pension funds halt investments in DP World over CEO ties to Epstein. No word of American pension funds. They love it, right? We have no shame here in America. It's going to take something that I can't even say on this broadcast. Heavy artillery fire into southern Lebanon, reported today, as every day. And I guess we have peace. Only one Palestinian has been reported killed there in the Gaza Strip today. Several others injured as indiscriminate Aardvark Land Army fire killed one Palestinian earlier today. And that's all the news we got for you today. Let's go to the channels. Let's go over to Odysee. We got Gur, Highland, Deep, John. Let's see. John was doing his antiseptic duties. He said a plumbing leak made him late to the show. Thank you for joining us there tonight, John, and everybody else on the Odysee. Let's see. Deep says so. They want me to call them. I can't even say that. Got it. I'll spread the awareness. Oh, man. I remember another thing. Hey, they're open aardvark supremacists in the calling us a bunch of goyim cattle to be freaking tortured, eaten, and disposed of. You know what I mean? So we should never forget that. Is they are the aardvark supremacists. They run around screaming that we're white supremacists all day, and that's the biggest threat. But it turns out they're open aardvark supremacists, and it's not. It's open. And there's a giant conspiracy. They have meetings all the time about how they're going to come after us and crush any dissent. They threw that Catholic lady off the White House Religious Liberty Board because she said, I'm a Catholic. I don't believe your Christian Zionist BS. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, you're antiseptic. You're gone, lady. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee. Thank you, everybody. The X is all screwed up. I don't know. I don't even think the broadcast goes through on X. It tells me Restream software says there's a problem streaming to X. I don't know. I guess I'll have to repost the full video over there for whatever it's worth on the X. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on Kick, Facebook, Twitch, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's take a look at some of the chats over here. We got more time today. Remember, programming reminder, tomorrow is Friday the 13th. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th, and Tuesday we'll have William Ramsey on. And that shall be interesting to do a deep dive into all of this evil as he's researching it and documenting it along the way here as we go. Okay, over to the Rumble chat. Thank you guys for keeping that lively. We had Denver, Bob, Golden over there. Carrie, I saw earlier. Keeping it going. Let's see here. Bob said on this one, I'm sure Iron Mike is all up there with Kanye and Cruz giving Masonic hand signals together. Sounds like the wall of TVs we musicians had to compete against just to work a gig. Yeah. I knew Goebbels was on track shunning television, Bob said. Kerry said, yes, 50s was sick time, and Eisenhower allowed it. Yep. I see Propelled on YouTube. Shout out to Propelled. Thank you for pumping some likes for me over there, guys. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Let's see. I know Trump was involved. A woman's gut knows, Carrie says. Yeah, so my wife says too. She says, yeah. Yeah. Trump's involved. You better believe it. Or he wouldn't be acting so. His freaking Justice Department Bondi's actively covering it up, for crying out loud. And he's so defensive every time it's even brought up. It's of course he's guilty. But like I say, we're never going to get to that point. He may have to flee to Aardvark land. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. Let's see here. Max says House of Gargoyles. Let's see. Some banter there. There you go. Tell us how you really feel, Denver. I really think I'm going to go barf now. We're covering the sort of details here as we have to. Duel over there. Thanks for tuning in on the Rumble. Karen jumped in there as well. There you go. There you go. And if you even say as much, you're the bad one, you see. You're the bad one for noticing such things. And with that, as always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday.